Okay, this is just a brief overview of how to install and use the new UIA or Ratchet and Clank 3 texture packs. And before we get started, I do want to note that these are currently compatible with PCSX2 1.7 only. So it's emulator only, and it will not currently work on a PS2. We'll update in the future if the mods do become available for the PS2. So there's kind of two parts to the setup. The first part is kind of steps that you only have to do. It's like a first time setup. And then the second part is kind of adding the actual textures that you want to use. So for the first time setup, um, you're going to start by going to your PCSX2 installation folder, which for me is just called PCSX2 1.7 here. And then it's going to have all these folders and files in here. And you want to make sure that there's a folder called textures here. If there's not one, you can just make a new folder and call it textures. And then within that folder, you're going to see if it should be blank if you're just starting. And in your PCSX2 here, it shows the game code for Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal. And you're going to want to make a folder within this textures folder with that same name. So SCUS 97353. And so then if you had a PAL game, that's this Ratchet and Clank 3 here, the SCES 52456. So you would name this folder that instead. So then within this folder here, you're going to make another subfolder and call it replacements, like that. So that's kind of the folder setup. And then in PCSX2 itself here, you're going to go to the graphics settings and this texture replacement tab. And there's two things to look at here. First, in the search directory, you want to make sure that it's pointing to the same textures folder that we just created. So not the replacements folder, but just the textures folder. And then down here in the options, you want to make sure that this load textures option is checked. That enables all of these custom textures to be loaded. So that's kind of it for the first time setup. The other part of the setup here is basically um, adding the actual textures that you want to use into this folder. So here's this replacements folder that I made before. Um, then you're going to want to download all of the texture pack files, which we have available in the Horizon Discord server, or wherever else you might be getting them. And if you come in here, you can see that we have the README, which is going to be a written version of the same instructions that I'm saying right now, and also a reference image showing those graphics settings that we just went over. But the rest of this folder is organized into different types of textures. So we have things for custom map textures, skins, so what the players look like, weapons, and other, where we have some other things that didn't really fit into those other categories. So for this demo, I'm just going to take a couple of maybe the map modifications here. Maybe in Hoven Gorge, we have this Mars version of Hoven, which we saw in one of the demo videos. So the way that you use these files is you're going to take this whole folder, which has all kinds of different images in it, and then you're going to want to copy it into that replacements folder. Now you could move it as well. I just personally prefer to just copy because then you'll be able to kind of maintain the organization over here in your downloaded folder. Um, and then I don't know, maybe we'll go into the skins here. And it's almost 4th of July here in the US. So let's go with this. You can see we have this Freedom Beach Bunny. So let's try that out. So we're going to take those files and copy those in there as well. So you'll see that in general, there's sometimes subfolders still within these folders. But unless it's like the team colors, most of the time you're going to want to copy the lowest level folder over here. So you wouldn't want to just copy like all these skins. You just want to take like the lowest level and then copy that folder over into the replacements folder. And that brings me to also the other point. So when you're doing this copying, if any existing textures will conflict with the new ones you copied in, you're going to want to move those out of the folder over here or delete them at that time. And that's because any conflicting textures will just cause like the visuals to be really weird or glitchy overlapping, that kind of thing. Um, so for example, if I already had the blue beach bunny over here copied in, that would kind of conflict with the freedom beach bunny. So you want to make sure that only one of those is over here in the replacements folder at a time. So that's basically it for the setup. The only step remaining is just to start up the game and try it out. So once you're online here, you're just going to create a game. And for this demo, we picked Hoven, so I'm going to go to Hoven Gorge. And you can already see that the texture replacements are working because up in the thumbnail over there on the top right, you can see that you have what looks like kind of orange Mars colors on Hoven. So we'll just do a death match. We'll do the Psycho Guns. Oops. And then we'll go to sure. And then for the skin, I'm going to change it to Beach Bunny. And you can see again, just like the map, that's already been changed. You can tell even before you enter the game that your setting changes worked. So I'm just going to start the game. And there you have it. That's basically all there is to it. You can see that the map is kind of like all movement and that sort of thing is pretty normal. It's only the colors that are different. That's basically all there is to it. If you have any questions, let us know in the Discord, and we can also connect you with the community members that made all of these modifications as well. Thanks.